Hey guys, in this position, Capablanca as white played something amazing, and his opponent resigned a couple of moves later. Of course, we're going to analyze it very soon, but let's see how they got here because it's actually very instructive. Keep watching. So Capablanca was playing as white, and Rader was playing as black in New York, 1936. He played e4, and black played c5, Sicilian, and he's going to play here knight e2, knight c6, and then knight b c3. He's playing a closed Sicilian. The idea here is that he's going to develop pieces, but he won't play d4, which could be open Sicilian. He's just going to develop pieces like, for example, the bishop over the fianchetto. He's going to castle. He will put the bishop over e3, and normal development for these positions. So the game continues: d6, g3, g6. Bishop goes to g2, and then bishop goes to g7. Capablanca plays d3, knight goes to f6, bishop e3, and black castles. At this point, he's going to play h3. And the idea with this move is that he wants to avoid the move knight g4. h3 is actually a typical idea in positions like this. Imagine you castle later and you play f4. If you don't have the pawn controlling here, it could be a problem, because there are moves like knight g4, as I was saying, attacking the bishop on e3, and then if you move the bishop, there might be problems over the diagonal, also with the knight over there connected, and this is not fine. So h3 is a very normal move in positions like this, just to make sure the bishop is fine there on e3. Black plays here bishop d7, and then this move, queen d2. Capablanca has been delaying a little castling kingside. He wants to keep like some tension with that. Keep the option of castling also castling queenside. Actually, castling queenside doesn't look like very safe, because it looks like black can advance very quickly. a6, b5, b4, attacking the knight, also the bishop over there, the knight going to d4, the queen goes to a5. So it looks like castling queenside is not really safe too much. But, well, he wants to keep the option, but also when we analyze the move queen d2, he's connecting queen and bishop, so he wants to play the move bishop h6, which is also a typical idea in these positions. The move bishop h6 is not only removing a very good defender in the castling for black, it's also trading a very good piece, a good attacker, because the bishop is putting a lot of pressure over the great diagonal, even more when black starts later advancing the pawns on the queen side. So the game continues here, a6, with the same idea as we were saying, and then bishop goes to h6. The knight goes to d4, and he's going to trade. When the knight goes here to d4, there are some ideas. For example, the queen is defending here c2 and h6 at the same time. So just to say something, this is a threat. Bishop takes, knight c2. So imagine we play anything like a3. There is bishop takes bishop, and then knight takes e2, because the queen is overloaded defending two things, and now black can take advantage of that with that fork. So yeah, knight d4, we need to be careful with the threats, and this is a good moment just to trade bishops. In the end, that was the idea. So bishop takes, king takes, and finally Capablanca castles in this position. Actually, we need to say that this is a really important moment of this game, because let's analyze the position. This bishop here is a little overloaded. This bishop is protecting a3, but also is guarding f3 at the same time. That means that there might be some tactics, and in fact there is. And black can play here bishop takes a3. I'm guessing Capablanca already saw the move, and he actually has a way to replay this bishop takes a3. So let's see what happened. Bishop takes a3, and of course we cannot take, as we were saying, because of the check, losing the queen. But he has one move here. He can play knight takes d4. The idea is that if the pawn takes on d4, he can capture the bishop, and then he takes the pawn. This is more or less an equal mid game. The bishop is fine, the queen is also fine, and this is an open position, and white has the bishop, so it's more or less equal, but I think it's very playable for white. However, instead of that, Rader is going to play after knight takes d4. He's playing the move bishop takes g2, which is not really the best. The best option is just taking the knight on d4. The problem is that now Capablanca doesn't have to take here directly, because if he takes pawn takes knight, this position is fine for black. Black has a pawn up, there's no compensation for white. However, Capablanca is going to play something different. Here he said, okay, I'm going to lose the knight, but I'm going to lose it in a way where I create more damage in my opponent's position. So I will create problems in the pawn structure, but not only that, also in the king's safety. So he plays the move knight f5, and this changes a lot. This is very different now, because after pawn takes, which is the move black needs to play, king takes bishop, now the g file is open for the queen, but also the h file is open for the rooks. So there will be a very clear and strong compensation for the pawn down this time. After f takes e4, Kappa is going to play another special move, and it is this rook h1. Rook h1 seems to be just a normal move improving the rook, but actually there is an extremely strong threat with this move. My black is playing something normal here, like pawn takes pawn. Then there is this line, queen h6 check, and when the king goes back, knight d5. The idea is that in this position, the only real defender black has is this knight on f6. The other pieces are not really helping too much. So knight d5 is just going to get rid of the defender of h7, and then there would be checkmate. And there's not too much black can do to stop this situation here. Something they could try is like rook e8, for example. So the king is escaping over here. So imagine we trade, we capture. The king will try to escape over this path. However, white could still play rook a e1 first, controlling over here, and this is just going to be winning very soon. Imagine black takes, well, we remove the defender now, and then we mate over h8. So after rook h1, Rutter saw some of these ideas, and he said, okay, I'm going to avoid the moves of the knight. The knight won't be able to go to e4 or to d5. So he's playing here d5. Now he's controlling here with the queen, and he's controlling here with the pawn. But this is already losing the game. Actually, black needed to play something like rook h8, defending h7 very well, and probably they can still play. White is better, but it's still playable. There is a long game ahead. But after d5, white is winning. He plays queen g5 check. The king has to go to h8, and this is the position we had at the beginning of the video. Here, the Q1 World Champion is going to play the move knight takes d5. And okay, what's going on here with this knight takes d5? It looks more or less clear that after knight takes knight, there is checkmate in 2, because white can play rook takes h7 and rook h1. That's fine. But the question here is, what happens with queen takes knight? Because then black has a lot of material up, h7 is still very well protected, and there's no mate. Well, the idea is that after queen takes d5, which is the move Rutter played in the game, there is another beautiful move by white, and it is this rook takes h7. The idea is that the knight is protecting the queen, but also protecting h7, avoiding this combination. So the knight is overloaded. If the knight goes there, then the queen is going to be hanging now. But if the king takes, we already saw earlier that there could be checkmate with the rook. Well, after this move, if black takes, then white is getting the queen. Black still has like a rook and a knight for the queen, but it's not only about the material, it's also about the king completely discovered here. So the rook and the queen will continue creating problems later. Also, the queen is capturing pawns over here. So this position is decisive advantage for white. Also, we need to mention after this knight takes d5, another move black could try something like rook d8, but this is not really going to work too much. Here, white can just remove the defender. We already saw during this game how important, how good defender is this knight on f6. So knight takes knight is just going to be winning here, because after rook takes queen, then there's Arabian mate here with rook takes a7. The question for today, what do you think about this move, knight takes d5? Let me know in the comments. Thank you for watching, don't forget to like and subscribe. See you on the next.